San Diego County takes a hard look at how it handled the hepatitis A crisis, what it did right, and what needs work.
I pounded on the table and said, it's inexcusable to have veterans in our cities that don't have homes.
One California city has stamped out homelessness among its veteran population, how they managed it, coming up. And tickets may be more expensive than at most theaters, but airline passengers traveling through San Diego International have a chance to catch some unique performances. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Susan Murphy. The San Diego Unified School District is missing out on a federal grant to help homeless students, even though it's got the third highest number of homeless students in the state. iNewsSource reporter Megan Wood explains why.
San Diego Unified lost its chance for $750,000 in federal funding to help homeless students because a finance official failed to sign its grant application. That alone was enough to disqualify the district. The application was submitted in late January. This is where the signature should have gone. Over the past 3 years, San Diego Unified received $725,000 from this funding. The money paid for clothing and hygiene products for homeless students and the salary of a staffer. District officials say they are disappointed the application was rejected, but they found a way to make up for the lost money. Other districts in the county will be getting the federal homeless funding, including San Ysidro, Escondido Union, and Poway Unified. Amounts will vary and are expected to be announced in July. For KPBS, I'm iNewsSource reporter Megan Wood.
iNewsSource is an independently funded nonprofit partner of KPBS. San Diego County's response to the recent hepatitis A outbreak is detailed in a new report released today. The outbreak was first detected in early March 2017, and the emergency continued through January 2018. 20 people died and nearly 600 were sickened. Many of the people infected with the contagious liver-damaging illness were homeless. Health officials say it spread through fecal contamination. The county's self-evaluation, called an after-action report, highlights the steps taken during the emergency. Among the successes listed in the 200-page report, the foot teams of nurses who teamed up with outreach workers and police to vaccinate the hard-to-reach population. In all, nearly 122,000 vaccines were administered.
That's it. You're all done. I'm going to put a Band-Aid on it.
Other successes highlighted were the deployment of hand-washing stations and portable toilets, sidewalk bleaching, and the clearing of encampments to boost sanitation. The report also documents needed improvements, such as better coordination and communication among regional leaders with a more efficient incident command center. It recommends training county workers in preparation for potential future public health emergencies and creating a better system for documenting and tracking vaccinations. You can read the full report on our website, kpbs.org. The city of Riverside has found a way to end homelessness among its veterans as part of our statewide collaboration covering the California Dream. KPBS reporter Amitha Sharma looks at how an abundance of money, political will, and the personal touch made a difference.
When I slept right here.
Army veteran Bill Bruick spent his last night homeless, lying on a tiny patch of dirt behind a Food for Less grocery store in Riverside.
I'd like to hear, though, because, you know, nobody could really see me back here, you know, and there was no way. I think this closes at 5, and the stores close at midnight. So, you know, nobody ever parked back here, so I got lucky.
That night capped 10 years of living in a shopping center for 51-year-old Bruick, who resembles a young Charlton Heston. Depression and alcoholism had hobbled him.
As soon as the liquor store opened, 6 a.m., I'd pass out during the day, but then normally around midnight, I'd stop. You know, even though when I was sick, I'd still force alcohol down me because I'd be shaking real bad.
7 stints of rehab did nothing for Bruick, but one bout of alcohol poisoning and a letter from his daughters in Germany expressing a desire to visit him sobered him up.
I was like, wow, I gotta do something. You know, I don't want them seeing me in this state.
Around the same time, the city of Riverside was in the midst of embracing then-President Obama's push to the country's mayors to stop veteran homelessness.
Well, as a veteran myself, it was easy for me to accept that challenge.
That's Riverside Mayor Rusty Bailey. He recalls when he was in the 9th grade, his church had a soup kitchen on Sunday nights.
I went in there one night, and I'm passing out food, taking a tray, and there's a classmate of mine. And you could see... Sorry. Thank you.
Obviously, a very
it's personal. It's personal.
And getting personal, creating that connection with vets, was the goal of outreach workers when they launched the program.
Well, number one, know their names.
What was your name again?
Justin.
Justin.
Number two, says Bailey, was bolstering the connection through repeated visits, sometimes as many as 50. Through the project, veterans could get their rent subsidized through VA housing vouchers, but Bailey still had to convince apartment owners to rent to people coming off the streets.
I pounded on the table and said, it's inexcusable to have veterans in our city that don't have homes. Landlords, where are you at? And many of them stepped up.
Once they got a place to live, vets were offered social services from mental health to substance abuse to job training. By the end of 2016, Riverside had housed all 89 of its vets. Bruick was one of the program's early beneficiaries. He went to rehab again at the Loma Linda VA. Today, he lives in a one-bedroom apartment with his fiancée, and he works at a facility that houses vets until they've been placed in permanent homes.
Steve, you need anything, Dave? Laundry or anything?
You got any paper towels?
No, I haven't got those yet. I gotta pick some up.
Mayor Bailey wants to extend the city's knowledge on housing veterans to housing others. For Riverside, that's nearly 400 people who are chronically homeless. And in March, the city council backed a plan that would place them in housing before offering them social services.
I see what we've done, and I'm proud of that. But I also see what we need to do. And that worries me because it's easy to support veterans. It's hard to support ex-cons or mentally ill individuals or substance abusers.
People who are homeless in Riverside also don't have access to well-financed federal housing vouchers or social services like veterans. But Gordon Walker, who heads San Diego's regional task force on the homeless, is optimistic. He's not involved in the Riverside program, but thinks it could show the way forward for other California cities like Los Angeles, San Diego, and San Francisco.
Those cities are some of the richest in the country. And so money is almost immaterial. It's not, absolutely. Money is important, but it's how that money is committed and how the citizens want their cities to be.
Gordon says success is about more than money.
Once you have the political will, the money tends to appear.
Or, as Bruick puts it, it's about cities having faith in all of their citizens. Bruick has been sober for 5 years now. He still hasn't gotten to see his daughters, but he's hoping for a visit with them and his 5 grandchildren this summer. Amita Sharma, KPBS News.
This story comes to us from the California Dream collaboration. Commercial drone testing is coming to San Diego. The region has been selected by the U.S. Department of Transportation to take part in an unmanned aircraft pilot program. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman has more.
The program has local governments partnering with the private sector to see how drone use can be safely expanded.
For San Diego, of course, it means partnering with Qualcomm and AT&T to launch cellular towers in the sky to ensure phone service during an emergency.
Other partners include UC San Diego, which is looking at transporting blood and medicine with drones. And Uber is exploring a new food delivery system.
There's really no drone deliveries out there today right now, at least not in the U.S.
Uber hopes that soon it will be flying food to hungry customers.
We have to do a lot of testing and exploration to actually see how well it works and when it's going to work.
The San Diego region was one of more than 100 locations to apply for the program. According to the Department of Transportation, the project here will partially focus on border protection.
We'll examine how drones could be used to safeguard critical infrastructure and other areas throughout the urban area of San Diego. But particularly as far as border enforcement, that is absolutely a national government matter that this project is not going to examine specifically.
The drones delivering food and other supplies might not look like ones we're used to seeing.
They would probably be larger.
James Burns is with Coleman University's Electric and Networked Vehicle Institute.
These are the ones that have high precision hovering capabilities. Sometimes you don't need that. Sometimes you need more of a long duration kind of vehicle that can then transition into a vertical flight vehicle.
Regardless of what they'll look like, there's still a lot more testing before drones fly into populated areas.
First in a research environment, then a very controlled demonstration environment, and then, if approved and necessary, at large throughout the community.
San Diego was one of 10 locations selected across the nation to participate in the pilot program. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
There are now barely more registered Republicans in California than no-party preference voters. The latest voter registration report released by the Secretary of State's office shows each with about a quarter of the electorate. Overall, the number of registered voters in California dropped by 125,000 from the start of this election year through today's report, which looked at registration in early April. Each of the last 3 election cycles saw much more modest gains or losses. The race for the 8th District Council seat will bring a new face to San Diego City Hall. 4 candidates are competing to replace termed-out incumbent David Alvarez. KPBS reporter Eric Anderson has details.
The 8th District is geographically sliced in half. To the north sits Grant Hill, Barrio Logan, and Sherman Heights, neighborhoods in the shadow of downtown's skyscrapers. The south pivots around San Ysidro and the international border. Both regions struggle with pollution. With no incumbent, community activist Filomena Moreno says it's a chance for a fresh start.
Have a good relationship with the mayor, a good relationship with the other council members, and work together to give us justice across the board.
4 candidates are on the ballot. Community activist Christian Ramirez wants to keep neighborhoods safe and healthy. Alvarez staffer Vivian Moreno is pushing neighborhood safety. San Ysidro School Board member Antonio Martinez puts neighborhoods and families first, and small businessman Zachary Lazarus promises to fight for residents. Monty Jones is director of the Logan Heights Community Development Corporation. He wants to see a district that shines, and he says that's as simple as installing better street lights and fixing sidewalks and roads.
We don't expect our council office to be able to get everything done, but if they get the support of the community and organizations behind them, a lot more can get done in City Hall.
The top 2 vote-getters will face off in November. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
Our media partner iNewsSource is following the money this election season. Here with the latest cash report on that District 8 race is iNewsSource reporter Jill Castellano.
The City Council's 8th District covers the southwestern part of the city, including Barrio Logan, plus the border communities of San Ysidro and Otay Mesa. Now that Councilman David Alvarez is termed out of this seat, 4 Democrats are trying to take his place. The top 3 candidates are closely matched in fundraising. Since January, San Ysidro school trustee Antonio Martinez has raised $22,000. Nonprofit executive Christian Ramirez has raised $20,000. And City Council policy advisor Vivian Moreno has raised $18,000. Moreno has the most money in the bank with $60,000 as of April 21st. She's also been endorsed by her boss, Councilman Alvarez, but another councilman, Chris Ward, has endorsed Martinez. To learn more about the money in politics, go to data.inewssource.org. For KPBS, I'm iNewsSource reporter Jill Castellano.
As we count down to the June primary, KPBS News will continue to reach out to candidates. You can see more of our election coverage at kpbs.org/election. Welcome home. 3 Americans made it back to Washington, D.C. today after being detained in North Korea. President Trump met them on the tarmac.
Hopefully everything's going to work out at the highest level. We want to thank Jong-un, who really was excellent to these 3 incredible people. They are really 3 incredible people.
North Korea had accused the Americans of anti-state activities. North Korean state news reported Kim decided to follow the president's suggestion and grant them amnesty. Trump also announced details on the first North Korea-U.S. talks since the end of the Korean War in the 1950s. That's set for June 12th in Singapore.
I'm John Yang. Tonight on the NewsHour, the stage is set. President Trump will meet North Korea's leader in Singapore next month. Coming up at 7, right after Evening Edition on KPBS.
Landowners in Oceanside are trying to protect the city's remaining agricultural lands. Their ballot initiative would take future development decisions away from the city council and give it to voters. KPBS North County reporter Allison St. John says that initiative could be on November's ballot.
Dennis Martinek has lived in a rural corner of Oceanside called Morrow Hills for nearly 40 years. His next-door neighbor is planting grapes.
So this is an example of someone moving from one crop, it was primarily avocados and macadamia nuts, to now trying grapes. They require less water and we're hoping less maintenance.
Martinek and his neighbor want to keep Morrow Hills agricultural in spite of challenges like higher water costs. They want to resist housing developments that are visibly encroaching on the rolling farmland. They support the SOAR initiative, a citizens' initiative that would require a vote of the people before the city could change existing zoning of agricultural land and open space.
Believe it or not, all of this agricultural land behind me is part of the city of Oceanside, 3,500 acres that have been farmed for decades. And the SOAR initiative is designed to keep it that way.
Martinek says there's plenty of space to develop housing elsewhere in the city.
Over 85% of the land is already devoted to housing and commercial projects in Oceanside. So basically what you have is less than 15% of the land is agriculture. And again, if you build on that, it's going to be gone forever.
But Neil Nagata, whose family has farmed here for 3 decades, says the SOAR initiative will only make it more difficult for farmers to stay viable.
This is not what it seems to be. It suggests that it's going to save agricultural lands. It really actually hurts agriculture. So farmers, I represent the San Diego County Farm Bureau. I'm currently the president. And our board of directors made a unanimous decision to oppose the SOAR initiative in Oceanside. And the reason is that it actually doesn't help agriculture. It hurts agriculture. We depend on our land values as a significant part of how we borrow money.
Nagata says restricting the possibility of development reduces land values, which makes it harder for commercial farmers to survive. He says if farmers go bankrupt, the land won't stay green. Avocado trees, for example, will simply die.
If someone puts some trees on there and they can't afford to water it, they actually let the trees die.
But Martinek believes without the SOAR initiative, developers will snap up the land because farmland is cheaper than urban land.
There's a serious concern that if this is built on, then it's gone, and you're not going to get it. It's not going to return to agriculture. And of course, the SOAR initiative applies to the parks and open spaces, and those areas that we're concerned about too, habitat areas, they should be protected, and we don't want development on those.
An independent study of the initiative will be presented to Oceanside City Council next month, and in November, voters will decide if they want final say on changes to land use on the city's remaining open space. Allison St. John, KPBS News.
Sunny for now, but we could see May Gray return this weekend with winds kicking up. Julia Wyden has more on that on tonight's forecast.
Well, good evening. Those winds continue to blow for areas a little bit farther off to the east. In fact, wind advisories remain in effect. We've had some sunshine recently. What's happened is that we've had a lot of cloud cover to start off the day, and then the sun comes out a little bit later on. That's a trend that we will be in as we go through the next couple of days, although the weekend looks like it might be sunnier for its entirety. We'll talk more about that in a moment. Here's that wind advisory, and I want to point out that it's in effect for Mount Laguna and for Borrego Springs, so keep that in mind until 5 a.m. on Saturday. Winds going to be around 20 to 30 miles per hour, but gusts will be higher, up to 50 miles per hour at times. Satellite and radar looks quiet. We have had some drizzle around. I think we could continue to see occasional spots of drizzle as we go through those overnight hours. A little bit more higher of a likelihood for rain well off to the north and east up into Nevada and over towards Utah. 60 degrees tonight. Again, clouds around, a couple spots of drizzle at times. Temperatures are going to be in the upper 50s in Oceanside. We'll be in the upper 50s in Chula Vista as well, dropping down to 51 in Mount Laguna. Tomorrow's forecast into the mid-60s in Mount Laguna, and we'll be in the 60s along the coast as well. Oceanside 68, San Diego 65. Hey, Borrego Springs, temperatures are going to be hot, but not as hot as we've been recently. We've seen a lot of triple digits recently. We'll be up to 91 tomorrow. Your weekend forecast. As you can see, we've got this dip in the jet stream that's going to bring the threat for some showers nearby. We are looking at some cooler temperatures at times. We are going to be in the 60s for the next few days at the coast. Clouds around for Friday and Saturday, but those clouds should break a bit on Sunday. Let's head on now over to the inland areas, and again, watching for some blustery winds here, especially out towards the deserts. Temperatures are going to be in the low 70s, a little more sunshine for Sunday and Monday. We'll be in the mid-60s on Friday, upper 50s for the weekend in the mountain region. Again, that cooler air is coming on in, and in the deserts, those temperatures are going to be a lot more comfortable in the mid-80s over the weekend. Back to you, Susan.
People traveling through the San Diego airport have had a unique opportunity to be inspired and entertained through their performance arts residency program. KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando took a trip down to check in with current residency artist Austria's Aerial Dance Theater.
Like many airports across the country, we have an arts program to enhance the customer experience. We have a very good arts program here in San Diego International Airport. 3 core components: public art, a temporary exhibitions program where we rotate the local work of artists annually, and then we have a performing arts component. And this residency program grew out of the performing arts component. And really the aim was, rather than just having a standard concert where people come and watch music or dance for 2 hours, we wanted to give customers an opportunity to look behind the curtain and see the work develop over a period of 6 months.
This was such an exciting opportunity for us. We had to go through an application process in order to get it, and we were one of, I believe, 25 artists to apply for this grant. For us, it means an opportunity to continue to create our art and to present it to people who are excited to see it.
They really have, in such a short period so far into their residency, they've played a lot of playfulness around what the airport environment is, and a lot of thought given to costuming and props, as well as the content and interaction with travelers.
We were excited to create a playful atmosphere for and about travelers of the airport.
They just really gave a lot of thought to what it means to engage with travelers.
We are very, very aware of the travelers around, and actually it's perfect today because we were playing air traffic controllers and we had our little wands, and I got to use it to help the audience member off the stage right before we started to dance. So yeah, we have to be aware of all of our surroundings at this point.
We were at baggage claim last time, and I think everyone was very focused on getting home. Here, being post-security, where people are maybe have a little more time waiting for a flight, we have a little bit more of a captive audience.
The attention to detail with the costuming and the sourcing of these props, I mean, it's great to see in really their first official month of the residency.
It all came from actually a video of an air traffic control person dancing by the side of the plane, and we just thought that was so funny and so entertaining, and so we wanted to bring pieces of the airport experience that we're all really used to and maybe just like kind of indifferent to, and make it something fun and playful. And also kind of connect with the employees who work here too by performing not just for our travelers but for everyone who works here, because it's a huge community of people. It's incredible to feel supported in our art. Is just, it's amazing. Unfortunately, there are not enough opportunities kind of nationwide for artists to be funded to create work, and so to have something in San Diego that is specifically supporting San Diego artists is very special, and we're very grateful. And we also, in creating some of our content, really wanted to make it very San Diego. So we have our fun surfing dance or somebody going to the beach. So we wanted to make sure we represent our city as well in this wonderful airport that we have here.
Americans for the Arts touts a number that about 70% of Americans now encounter arts in unexpected venues, so the airport is a perfect place to do that. In fact, they call out the airports as one of those venues. So I'd like to continue to give our customers this encounter with arts and culture and simultaneously give the local art scene of San Diego an opportunity to do something unique for a period of time that they might not otherwise have an opportunity to do.
I just want to thank the airport and the Airport Authority for this opportunity. It really does help us to create new works and keep the arts alive in San Diego.
Well, this is what you hope for, really, to see the responses from all the customers here. One person said, this is the best part of flying into San Diego. So that's great feedback for us.
Astria's Aerial Dance Theater has 2 more performances at the airport before their residency ends, one on Monday, May 14th, and the other on May 21st. Here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. On Morning Edition, getting ready to pop. It's been more than a decade since a bursting housing bubble triggered the 2008 financial crisis. Planet Money looks at the signs that may be leading to another bubble. And on Midday Edition, it could be a major boost for charter school advocates, how this year's election could play a part. That's tomorrow on KPBS Radio. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kppbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us. Have a great evening.